Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Sam Kern, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flying Officer Connor Collishaw. We warmly welcome the family of Flying Officer Dermot John Hegarty, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was a vision of Charles Bean, Australia's first World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they'd done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honor, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Flying Officer Dermot John Hegarty. Dermot Hegarty was born on the 13th of November 1920 in the Sydney suburb of Marrickville. Known as Ginger because of his red hair, Dermot was the youngest of 5 children born to James and Margaret Hegarty. He received his education at St Aloysius College in Sydney, where he excelled at sports, serving as the captain of the school's cricket and rugby teams. Dermot went on to service in the Light Horse in the militia while working as a station hand and jackaroo. Dermot Hegarty enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 8th of November 1941. He underwent a short period of training in Australia before embarking for service overseas. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operator, air gunners, and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined the Royal Air Force squadrons, or Australian squadrons, based in Britain. Hegarty arrived in England in May 1942 and undertook further training, qualifying as a pilot on the 4th of December. Throughout his time, he gained experience flying a wide variety of aircraft, including Oxfords, Wellingtons, and Lancasters. Posted to Bomber Command, he joined No. 44 Squadron in 1943 and then moved to 630 Squadron in November. Hegarty became known as a capable and courageous pilot. His commanding officer remarked that he had outstanding qualities of leadership and was a keen and reliable officer. He had numerous successes and displays valour on missions over enemy territory. Volunteering for a second operational tour in February of 1944, Hegarty became a member of No. 83 Squadron, Royal Air Force, based at Coningsby. No. 83 Squadron was part of the Pathfinder Force, a group of squadrons that specialised in marking the target of a raid ahead of the main force of bombers. Many of those who served in the Pathfinder Force were recognised as highly skilled and talented aircrew who had volunteered for a second operational tour. In June of 1944, Hegarty was involved in an attack on a target in Germany's Ruhr industrial zone, where his aircraft was attacked by a German Messerschmitt 110 night fighter. His Lancaster was badly damaged, hit twice in the fuselage by anti-aircraft fire as he continued to the target. After hitting the target, Hegarty was attacked by ground fire before being set upon by another Messerschmitt, wounding the wireless operator and the navigator. Despite the damage sustained to the aircraft, Hegarty managed to fly the plane and his wounded comrades safely back to England. For this action, he was later awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. His citation in the London Gazette noted that it was only due to his skillful piloting and determination that the plane and crew avoided destruction. On the 16th of July, 1944, Hegarty was a captain of a Lancaster with 5 other crew members on board, detailed to carry out a night training bombing exercise at the Wainfleet Range. It was later claimed that 2 members of Hegarty's crew arrived for the flight without their parachutes, and he sent them back to retrieve them before departure. On takeoff, the crew noted that the plane was slow to pick up speed and height. Without warning, all 4 engines on their Lancaster cut out when they reached 1,500 feet. 3 of the crew managed to escape by parachute. The remaining 3 crew members were still on board the Lancaster when it crashed into the ground and burst into flames. Warrant Officer Michael Cross, Flying Officer Kenneth Stiltoe, and Flying Officer Dermot Hegarty were all killed in the accident. Hegarty's commanding officer wrote a letter to his family in Australia saying, "I'm writing to you to express my dearest sympathies and the sympathy of all ranks of 83 Squadron upon the death of your son. He came to my squadron last February, and his cheerfulness and steadfast courage in the fulfilment of his onerous duties as a captain of a Lancaster aircraft have been an inspiration to many of his friends and to all in the squadron. Flying Officer Hegarty was buried with full military honours on the 21st of July 1944 at Cambridge City Cemetery in England. He was 23 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flying Officer Dermot John Hegarty, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please be standing for reading of the Ode and signing of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founding father, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozier or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working to the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff, and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.